Great. Okay, friends, before we get started in the meditation, a few more notes on the practice. As I just mentioned, in that chanting that was going on, that was the Marana Sati, or the contemplation of death. A lot of people don't like that. They, why should we contemplate that? But it's a vital constant subject of meditation, especially in terms of the impermanence. That all conditioned things are impermanent. Even all the trees and animals that you see growing, they grow old and die, and so do human beings. They die at different times. And so we should be prepared for when that comes, because we don't know. There's a saying by the ancients that tomorrow or the next life, we don't know which is going to come first. So many people think they're going to live for a couple more weeks, a couple more months, a couple more years, a couple more decades. Young people think they're going to, 50 more years, but some of them are dead tomorrow because it comes up fast without any warning. It's very unpredictable. So anyway, that's brings us to to this topic of the meditation, sort of the second phase of meditation. We talked about the first stage of meditation is trying to get the mind grounded and centered in the present moment. That means in the breathing body, and to overcome the hindrances. It means those hindrances of sleepiness, being easily agitated and disturbed by different sensations, and just getting lost in your thoughts. So usually it takes, quite a long time or several days to kind of do that, even in a retreat. But anyway, a lot of people ask, they practice anapanasati and they get kind of relaxed, and they're, just sort of watching things coming and going, and they say like, what's next? What's next? Well, the what's next is that you have to double down and tune your attention to impermanence, or how quickly different sensations and our thoughts are just coming and going one after the other. And, people take their life for granted. They just think, oh, I'm a human being, and we're doing all these things and running around and indulging their senses, and they think they know what life is. But most people's idea of life is very superficial. It's only about what their body is doing, on the earth, and how much they can get, or how many kids they can produce, or whatever. How many, the bucket list, how many their bucket list they can accomplish, and so on. But actually, from the Dhamma point of view, that the process of life is basically moments of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking that are passing through the senses at a very high speed. And that's what's called impermanence. Impermanence isn't somebody just dropping dead on a heart attack or something like that. It's really about the nature of the mind and consciousness, and and that our life is made up of just moments of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking that are coming and going. But we're always grabbing these things and trying to stop that flow of impermanence. And that's what causes stress and suffering, because we try to stop the flow of impermanence, and then we suffer on account of that. We say, oh, that shouldn't happen to me, but it happens anyway. Or my friend shouldn't have broken up with me. Or, you get married and you take this vow of, live together forever, and then they're divorced in a year or two. Now, I'm not mocking that. I know many people do stay married their whole lives. My brother has, and so many people reach 50 or more years of marriage. So, but in general, you all know people who have gone through so many relationships. Anyway, coming back to what is next in meditation, is what happens if people, they get a little bit of concentration, and they start feeling, the pleasant sensations arising, just sitting, breathing, and then either they think, oh, what's next, or because it's kind of boring, they go to sleep. So, or they just want to hang out in that kind of nice feeling, but it doesn't really go anywhere from there. So you have to specifically try to notice how quickly different things just come and go. That's what pricks the mind up. It makes the mind very alert, because you're deliberately trying to notice how many little, body sensations are coming and going. The breath is coming and going. The breath starts, lasts a moment or two, stops. The out breath starts, lasts a moment or two, stops. Even while the breath is coming in, you might hear a sound, boom, arise and vanish. Then a thought like, what's that? Arise and vanish. Another itch on your ear arises. Oh, and that last couple of seconds, something else takes your attention. And so really what our life is just these moments of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking, which are arising and passing away. So that's called vipassana. It's called seeing things as they are. And it's really when meditation starts to get interesting. A lot of people, they're all this idea of, I want to attain a jhana, and I want to see the white light in the mind, or, whatever else they imagine. And they think that's interesting. That's nothing compared to observing the flow of impermanence. Now that's exciting. And it really pricks the mind up, because there's always something coming through the senses, except our mind is very slow, so it wants to grab a hold of this and grab a hold of that. And then we're not aware of so many other things that are coming and going. So the trick in meditation is learning how to notice when the mind is starting to react to something, and having that mindfulness. That's what the mindfulness is. The mindfulness is a sharp attention to notice when the mind is starting to think about something, where the mind is starting to get irritated by the pain arising. Or it hears a sound, or what's that? He shouldn't be doing that. The mind, it gets triggered off so quickly, and then it clings to those opinions and ideas. I have the right to be angry. They did it to me. So, and that's because you have nothing else to think about. So we have to give the mind a lot of other things to notice, so it doesn't get carried away by useless things or unimportant things. So that's what the next stage of the meditation is, after you're able to get at least somewhat relaxed and centered. And then when those pleasant feelings of the concentration arises, just don't sit there and kind of, zone out. That's when you need to double down and like turning up the power of the microscope to notice subtler and more sensations coming and going. And that can build up a lot of speed, but it depends on the ability, those hindrances having been weakened to a certain extent. So the impermanence means everything that arises will cease, and that's on a. Well, I'm going to talk more about it in the talk. But anyway, so in the meditation this morning, and that's why actually the movement meditation is very powerful. Those who have trouble sitting and sitting still and concentrating their mind, the movement awareness is equally as powerful. And that means you try to notice, each movement of the body. Now somebody's scratching their head there. They go like that, and they weren't aware really. Now in mindfulness training, if you have a desire, first you have to recognize desire to scratch. Let's say if you're sitting and you feel an itch. Then first mindfulness will notice there's an unpleasant. This is the evolution of an action. First there's a sensation, an unpleasant sensation. Then there's a recognition of it. That's an itch in my head. Which you don't maybe think about that, but it's unconsciously, it's there. There's an itch in my head. Then there's I don't like it. I want to get rid of it, that urge. And how are you going to get rid of that? The arm has to lift up. So it's lifting. It's not just one movement. Your arm just doesn't move like that. I mean, it does because you don't see what's happening under the surface. But when you deliberately slow down your movements, and you do it really slowly, you can see how the mind says, move it higher, that's not enough. No, move it higher, that's not enough. No, move it higher, that's not enough. It keeps going like that until it, it gets there, that's enough, stop. And the fingers open. It touches that spot. Rub down, rub up, rub down, rub up. Okay, that's enough. And then the hand lowers down like that. And that's actually how the body-brain works. Each of those minute little movements, with a fraction of an inch, is a different firing of the neurons in the brain, sending signals to the arm to lift up higher and higher. And for any other movement, turning your head, it's not you turn your head like that. I mean, you can do that, but that's unmindful. But a mindful person would be, okay, you hear a sound, there's an urge to look. Okay, if you think it's necessary, and then turning, seeing something, determining what it is. Okay, it's no big deal. Turn back. In that way, your mind is in the present moment. The way most people's body and mind work, they're just sort of neurotic movement. Right? So that creates a lot of stress, tension in the nervous system. So, the sort of the advanced level of vipassana, or when you tune into that, at a certain point, it will become kind of automatic, in the slow motion kind of movement and walking, especially when you have those conditions like in a retreat where you can do that. And then when you come back to sit down, the mind will already kind of be in that mode, and then it can be applied to, being aware of the other flow of impermanence. But the trick is not letting the mind hold on or cling to a particular sensation, sound, or even a thought. So it's a particular kind of vision, it's a particular kind of understanding. So that's what you can think about. This is an aspect of that kind of thinking meditation. You're actually meditating. You're thinking about impermanence and observing how fast it goes. And if the mind reacts unmindfully, or to see a conditioned reaction, you try to observe the body and mind as in this conditioned process. And that helps to create a space of detachment. It helps to, mindfulness is kind of a pull back awareness. Like you can just observe the body, sitting, breathing. If you feel that outline of the body, that's really one of the key points that makes it very easy. It's like you're just watching looking in a mirror or watching a movie. Actually, the meditation is, especially mindfulness meditation, it's very similar to watching a movie. You go to a movie theater, you get a balcony seat, you sit down and you watch the movie. So in meditation, we're sitting down, you're getting the balcony seat. It means you're keeping the spine straight, the head up. It's like you're in a balcony seat. You kind of just look down and you see this body sitting there. You feel the breathing going in and out. Oh yeah, sitting body, sitting, breathing, sitting, breathing. And you hear a sound come through. Hearing, itching, urging, thinking. And you just kind of watch moment to moment, but without identifying it as me and wanting to change it. So anyway, that's the attitude of the mindfulness meditation, is just sort of observing our body and mind, whatever it's doing moment to moment. So it's a radically different kind of perspective than the ordinary. So another thing with the meditation, no two meditations are ever going to be the same. And if you happen to have a good meditation, you have to expect that the next one probably won't be so good, or could be even horrible. Because you get good at you get to have a nice meditation where the mind becomes calm, and then you think, oh, now I'm really onto it, right? You think now it's going to be this way. But what happens is very interesting. See, our unconscious mind is like a multi-layered, multi-layered cake, so to speak. So many layers, infinite, millions of layers of all the past experiences, emotions, memories, and so on that we've had our whole life, even from past lives. But in this life, there's enough by itself. And, they're buried underneath. And our anger, our lust, our confusion, our fears, and the loneliness. And so when you meditate, it kind of, because you're concentrating, it's sort of you're pushing all those thoughts down. It's like putting a pressure on the unconscious mind due to the concentration. But then when you come out of the concentration, that pressure that was there now gets let up. And so that releases trapped emotions and memories from the unconscious that then could manifest as being irritable or just sleepy, or so many other distracting thoughts or emotions. And so that meditation probably wouldn't be so good. But the idea of good meditations and bad meditations is not a skillful way to think. Everything is just, it is what it is. But it doesn't have to be that way. So whatever comes up in that moment, it is what it is. If the mind is concentrated, okay, that's what it is. If the mind is not concentrated, okay, that's the way it is. But you can take remedial measures to try to, correct it. Like if you get angry, you might say, "Oh, that's angry. Okay, I'll just, be angry and let it all out." No, that's not. You watch the anger. This is a very important part of meditation. That normally, if we get angry or we have some other confusion or fear or desire, we usually focus on the object that triggered off that anger or desire. Is that right? But in meditation, instead, we just focus on the anger itself. Forget about the object that caused it. And so when you start to get angry or upset, you just know, anger is there. Okay. Feel what it's doing to you. Feel how your jaw is tightening up, or how your body is getting tensed up, or maybe some heat is arising. And you just, oh, wow, look at this. And you just focus on the effects of that anger, the effects of lust, what it's doing in your mind or your body, or your sadness, maybe your sadness, and you're thinking about somebody who died. Oh, I'm lonely, my good friend died. And, just try to feel the sadness itself, or whatever the emotion is. And don't reinforce the object that caused it. Because then if you do reinforce or identify the object that caused it, then you are strengthening that type of identification. And so you just try to observe the phenomenon itself, like the pain. If pain arises, okay, painful feeling. But don't go and say, well, that pain is in my this knee, and this knee belongs to me, and then that's where the struggle arises. If you just see it as unpleasant sensation, just feel what it's doing there, feel how the mind is kind of, having aversion to it, and just relax around it. But you don't reinforce what caused it, then that object will vanish. Because objects only stay in the mind when we keep reinforcing the idea that that object is real. Like I am real, his body is real, and all these objects and so on. So it's a very specific type of training, meditation training, called the clear comprehension. So anyway, these are just things well, coming back to that point about the meditation. So you might have a not so good meditation, but then when that gets lifted off, then you might have another good meditation. And that can continue like that, alternating like that. So actually, you should even welcome bad meditation, because that's the chances to know, why is it that way? What are the causes for this? Maybe you overate too much or something in the morning, and then that caused the drowsiness. And you can, so that sleepiness may be caused by overeating. Okay, maybe I shouldn't eat so much. Or maybe you thought, I'll just slip a phone call to my friend to see how they're doing. And then in that phone call, your friend starts, ranting about all kind of problems, and you get, then you come back, and that's all you're thinking about in the next meditation. So there's a cause for everything that happens in the body and mind. Now, we might not always see the causes, but some of them can be quite obvious. And that's when we have to see, do I want these things keep coming back all the time like this? Then you have to remove the causes, or you have to work on the things that may cause those things. Like with pain and other things, if you're not doing any exercise, not doing any yoga or deep breathing, and then you have more pains and sleepiness, what's the cause of it? Take a few deep, slow breaths. Sitting straight. Boom! Oh, your mind's more bright. Okay. So that's why meditation is like a scientific, investigation. And when we're meditating, and that should be our attitude. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much time in it. So we'll go ahead and does anybody have any specific questions about just what I was talking about? Yes. Well, those elements are sensations. You can in the beginning, but later on, that becomes automatic knowledge. You don't have to think about it. But all sensations belong to one or more of those elements. So anything you feel in the body is either the earth vibration, water vibration, heat vibration, or movement vibration. And the reason why we contemplate that is because if you're meditating and you feel a pain. Now, what do you normally do when you feel a pain? You think, oh, that's the pain in my shoulder. That's a pain in my neck. That's a pain in my leg. Is it? But from the meditative point of view, you just say earth vibration. That's an earth vibration. That means it's cells and molecules rubbing together, producing this idea of something being solid. You feel the two hands pressing together. So there's some pressure there, solidity. Your buttocks pressing the seat. So instead of saying, I am sitting, you say, it's just the earth vibration. We try to remove the idea that these things are happening to me, because then the mind struggles. Whenever the me or I is involved, it struggles. So that's why one of the key aspects of Vipassana is impersonalizing every experience. Like when you hear a sound, it's just hearing. Don't turn that hearing into somebody talking, because then you're going to get angry. Or don't even say, I am hearing. It's just hearing. I mean, isn't it just hearing? Isn't it just a sound vibration went through your nervous system? Caused hearing, right? So don't turn it into a big melodrama. It's just hearing. Or just pain. Don't turn it into, oh, it's a pain, I'm going to die. Well, big melodramas arise in the mind. It's just sensation. It's just seeing. Or thinking. Or tasting, smelling. All those six senses. That's actually the Vipassana method, is just impersonalizing these experiences coming through the body and mind. Because anytime you relate them as I am doing it, or I'm seeing it, or identify these objects as such, that's what drags in lust, desire, anger, the past and the future, and so on. But when there's just simply hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, it's not related to anything. They're just vibrations floating through this space of awareness. And that's liberation in its ultimate sense. I mean, that's a very advanced degree, but to know it's even to intellectually know it's happening that way can help you to be better kind of on guard. When you see that urge to itch, no, you don't just feel it. Try not to think it's happening to me or I, just itching. Sensation. And all these sounds that are going off, fire truck going down a road, or door slamming, or somebody taking a shower, or the air conditioning unit. Instead of thinking about them, just hearing. So wonderful. Okay, anyway, these are just things that you try to incorporate into the practice. Okay, so go ahead. Walk on down the hall to the laboratory, Biology Lab 101. Just align your posture. Just take a few deep, slow breaths. Hold that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. It's coming to the door of the laboratory. You can just observe the sitting body, sitting. Just the door of the laboratory. And taking some deep, slow breaths to feel the sensations of expanding and contracting. It's gradually opening the door of the laboratory. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Just breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Try to continue that 3-part breathing a little longer. Just tune in to the 4 phases of each breath cycle. Expanding in breath. Brief pause. The contracting out breath. And the brief pause. Slowly opening the door of the laboratory. The body going inside. Feel the sensations of breathing. And on your own, you still have a lot of thoughts, counting your breaths from 1 to 10. Develop a more continuous concentration in the breathing body. Being alert for thoughts trying to sneak in. Keep focused on the breathing. Keep tuning in those 4 phases of each breath. Expanding in-breath starts, lasts a second or two, stop. There's a pause. The out-breath, contracting out-breath starts, lasts a second or two, stop. Another brief pause. Another in-breath. Just tune into that. Make it very clear. Keep turning up the power of the mental microscope. Notice subtler detail, sensation, rising and vanishing. The concentrated awareness. One in-breath, you can notice 3 or 4 or more different little sensations that arise and vanish. With the contracting out breath, you can notice 3 or 4 or more contracting sensations. Between, the thought might try to flash to the mind. Some other sensation on the body might pull your attention, get your pain. Stay with the breathing. If you're able to make it to counting in 10 breaths without the mind getting lost, some other point when you're ready, just come back to just the bare attention to in sitting, out, out, sitting. You hold the outline of the body in the mind's eye. Go up and take a balcony seat behind the eyes. Watch that outline of the breathing body. In sitting. Out, out, sitting. The mind is calm enough, just opening up to feel other sensations arising and vanishing in and around the breathing. Sounds coming and going in the background. Thoughts to the back of the mind. Hearing, thinking. Sensation. From time to time, take a few deep, slow breaths. Keep the blood oxygenated. Keep the cells charged up with alertness. Keep turning up the power of the mental microscope. Keep the mind awake by noticing more and subtler vibrations, sound, thought coming and going with this breathing body. Keep coming back to take a few deep, slow breaths as the mind is kind of sluggish. If there's too much pain, your mind has lost its gas, concentration. Slowly stand up, do some standing, stay more awake. Do some deep breathing, otherwise sit a little bit longer. What sensations, feelings, or thoughts arise based on that sound. Don't let the mind rush to the future. Take a deep, slow breath. Mindfully place your hands at the edge of the knees. Take one more deep breath, stretching the head back, putting the hands on the knees to arch the spine. Feel the sensation. Lift the head up. The out breath, press the chin to the top of the chest. Stretch the neck vertebrae. Lift the chin up level on an in-breath. Relax on the out-breath. And mindfully begin unfolding your legs, aware of the relief of discomfort, changing sensation. Flex your toes. Let come back to the legs, feet.